Hi, and welcome to In the Studio, now in our 20th consecutive year. I'm Redbeard, with the stories behind history's greatest rock and roll albums.
One, two, three.
Today in the studio, it's the continuing story of a bunch of small-town guys who became international ambassadors of rock from New Jersey. From August 1986 until the fall of 1988, 5 guys from New Jersey sold over 9 million copies of their third album. It was called Slippery When Wet. Bon Jovi's tireless touring, good hooks, and good looks had paid off big in the rock and roll lottery. But inevitably, a follow-up album was due from David Bryan, Tico Torres, Alex Such, Richie Sambora, and John Bon Jovi. Expectations were high, both outside and inside the core of the band, but ambitions were equal to the task of taking Bon Jovi's all-American appeal to a world audience. I talked with lead singer John Bon Jovi about the Roman candle of fame and the pressure to repeat Slippery When Wet's incredible sales.
Do you think Slippery's success changed the way rock and roll was made from there on? How do you think it changed the business?
At that time, I remember seeing somebody say they made, hard rock accessible to women and to the masses. And there's validity in that statement. It was Dee Snider who I saw say that. And he's right, because all of a sudden the guys who were going to see AC/DC and those guys are ZZ or, Scorpions and those kind of bands, suddenly they saw me on TV 20 years, ago, and you sing You Give Love a Bad Name to a girl, and bang, zoom, the poster industry got a big spike. There was a lot of influence in girls' bedrooms. There was pictures of us.
Yes, that's
true. And it was a #1 single. And remember, there wasn't even a category in the Grammys for hard rock.
You're right. You're right.
When an album called Slippery When Wet came out, that's when the category was created.
That's a good point.
It didn't exist before then.
It's a very good point.
Being on the cover of Rolling Stone and having a #1, or a couple of #1 singles on that record, it did make it much more friendly. It put it from being, a rock band that, unless you were a fan of that genre of music, you didn't know if I was from Canada or France or if it was my first and last name. You really had to read Circus Magazine to find out who we were. But when Slippery came out, you could see, my name in Time magazine, and that was yes, it most definitely had an impact.
The scrutiny of the magnifying glass had already made John Bon Jovi self-conscious enough that he wanted to open both his next album and tour with a clear message.
All right, well, Lay Your Hands on Me was a way for me to express the feeling that we're still very accessible. I think that one thing that we've prided ourselves on is, even in an opening act situation or a club act or wherever we happen to be, we were accessible. We were able to be one-on-one with our audience, if it was 50 or 50,000. I like to think that we still have that, and not to think that we're any different. One of the things that we said, we were almost thinking about calling the album, is we're the same old dudes in new shoes.
I like that.
Because we think of ourselves like that, and to say lay your hands on me, if you want me to lay my hands on you, lay your hands on me, and that's really how the lyric goes, because it's going to open the show, and that's how we want to start the night. Let's get all the stuff, the pretense out of the way. We're the same old guys we used to be,
Sure, that was true, but Slippery When Wet's 17 million copies sold to date changed virtually everything else. With the album New Jersey, newly found success brought new concerns.
We knew that we had to make a great album that we would enjoy playing now, because from now on I have to look forward to doing this, And when things like Blood on Blood appeared and that kind of, we knew that we were on the right track. There was the fear factor, not having the success again in monetary values reasons, okay? I'll tell you the two extremes. One at the Budokan in Japan, just before the album came out, but we were confident because we had been big there since '84 that we could do the Budokan without a new album, which was absolutely the wrong thing to take for granted. We got to Japan, the Budokan was about half sold out, and I was losing my mind. I'll do anything to get kids in the arena, all the press I need to do, any radio that'll take me, TV shows, anything.
We ended up doing about 3/4 of a house, and probably that was one of our best shows ever because we played our hearts out. You know, like we said, basically we would do this for free if there was a full house, so that you can grow old and say, hey, the famous Tokyo Budokan, you know, where everyone's played, we sold it out. Well, we didn't, and you knew not to take it for granted. Then on the other end of the spectrum, we did Castle Donington, and there's 70,000 plus kids out there, and I say, how you doing? And like the whole crowd went, we're good. And I'm thinking, my God, those 70,000 people just said, you know, they're fine. Like it was an intimate conversation, you know? And you realize that you'd give up anything just to be able to do that again. And that was what I wanted with this album.
The first single released from Bon Jovi's New Jersey album, Bad Medicine, went immediately to #1 on the chart in November 1988. For this and your other favorite rock star interviews, go to inthestudio.net. Up next, John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora reveal how a hit movie inspired them to write Blood on Blood. I'm Redbeard in the studio for the 20th anniversary of Bon Jovi's New Jersey.